The problem is no one knows exactly what they're going to announce or how many people are going to lose their jobs through this.
These are turbulent times in the history of Australian aviation, and tomorrow will be D-Day for the national carrier Qantas as it confronts crippling financial losses. In the morning, the company is due to announce the extent of its losses, which will measure in the hundreds of millions of dollars for the past 12 months. And in the afternoon, it'll address its staff, where it's expected to announce thousands of job cuts. Qantas has been ramping up its appeal for help from the federal government. It wants a debt guarantee and changes to the Qantas Sale Act to allow the airline for the first time to be majority foreign-owned. So how did it come to this? Greg Hoy reports.
4562, departure frequency 118 days for 2.
With 60 million tickets sold last year to domestic airline passengers, the duopoly controlling Australia's airspace is locked in an increasingly bitter, some say crazy, duel. And the winner is you.
Call 723 on Foxtrot, cross runway 12.
Australians have never seen it so good in the fares available in the domestic market, in the service levels we enjoy, the network we enjoy.
Flooding the airwaves with expensive ads and the airways with cheap seats, the big boys of aviation are bleeding red ink in a fierce struggle to poach each other's passengers. Particularly Qantas, the national carrier and former government airline. Its profit announcement tomorrow is expected to be a disaster of epic proportions.
My understanding is a loss in the order of 300 million for the half year, and I suspect that that will grow throughout the full year to around 600 million. So that represents a historical loss for Qantas.
A loss of such serious magnitude must trigger massive restructuring and job losses, according to most aviation analysts. 7:30 caught up with the former Qantas network and strategy executive Scott Gustiter in Beijing to ask for his prediction.
Take British Airways, for example. In Qantas terms, if you were to cut 20% of that 33,000 strong workforce, you're looking at 6,600 job cuts. If it's 10%, you're looking at 3,300 job cuts. So, you know, my guess, and purely a guess, it'll be somewhere between 10% and 20%.
So far, Qantas has said it will cut 1,000 jobs, but as it prepares to announce big losses tomorrow, little wonder unions and Qantas employees are worried and angry.
For several weeks now, Qantas have been running some meetings with the engineers out at the various ports, saying that there's a big announcement that's going to come and it's going to affect them. But the problem is no one knows exactly what they're going to announce or how many people are going to lose their jobs through this.
What are we going to do next? Where are we going to get a job? You know, my kids have got to be educated, I've got a mortgage to pay.
At Australia's airports, Qantas is under siege, desperately lowering prices and lifting service standards to defend its traditional 65% market share and dominance of the profitable business travel market.
I prefer Virgin. I think because the service is better and it seems to be constant.
Qantas is my preference.
Roy Morgan Research recently surveyed 20,000 Australians to find out which of the airlines now enjoys the highest customer satisfaction rate. Qantas won Best Airline, but only by a nose.
Although Qantas won overall domestic airline, Virgin took out the first prize when it comes to business airlines. But I think Virgin's actually done an amazing job to come from an airline that was seen as no frills, a kind of wannabe airline, and then just improved and improved.
This is becoming an increasingly determined dogfight between two top Qantas executives. One, John Borghetti, who left the airline for its rival, having been passed over for the top job at Qantas. The other, the man who did get the chief executive's role at Qantas, Alan Joyce, now left in the lurch trying to pull the national carrier out of its nosedive. So who is winning this strategic competition between the two former colleagues?
I think they're both losing. I don't think there is a winner. I mean, Virgin's profit outcome is as bad as Qantas's, so they're both suffering from too much capacity in the market.
It is a matter of brinkmanship. I think Qantas believes quite strongly that the 65% market share goal is an important one to hold on to at all costs.
But in this battle of the long pockets, the biggest loser must eventually be the biggest airline, Qantas, its share price plummeting in recent years. As the national carrier, foreign ownership of Qantas is restricted to less than 50% by the Qantas Sales Act. Virgin, however, is 77% owned by foreign airlines. So when it lost $98 million last year in its battle with Qantas, its foreign shareholders simply kicked in $90 million in loans.
It's good to be here in Canberra and talk about Qantas and to talk about tourism.
Qantas has appealed to the federal government for help.
The two main forms of assistance that it's likely to enjoy are one, removal of the Qantas Sales Act, but that's likely to take some time to happen. The other form of assistance is a guarantee on Qantas's debt.
The government has hinted it may give Qantas a temporary debt guarantee. But changing the Sales Act presents a bigger challenge. An international airline must be majority Australian-owned to retain overseas landing rights. So changing the Qantas Sales Act would most likely see Qantas split into two companies. A domestic company with much more foreign investment and an international company majority Australian-owned, just like Virgin has done.
It's a choice of one or the other. If the Australian government doesn't want to lift the Qantas Sale Act provisions, then I think the request for the debt guarantee is fair game.
Removal of foreign ownership restrictions is supported by most analysts and even Virgin, but not Labor and the Greens, who are worried more jobs would be sent overseas. The government insists there will be no assistance offered to Qantas unless it lifts its bottom line. Qantas staff fear unless passengers are forced to pay more. That spells trouble for them.
We're hearing anything from between 2,000 jobs to 10,000 jobs, but really as far as we're concerned there's only one job that needs to be replaced at Qantas, and that's the CEO, Alan Joyce.
Myself, probably an end of an era for me.
If it doesn't restructure, it will not run out of money in the short term because it does have a very big cash box, but in time we can expect that Qantas will never return to profitability.
Greg Hoy reporting, and Alan Joyce will be my guest tomorrow night following Qantas's announcement.